I still remember the phone call. It was early morning, the kind of morning where the world feels soft and new. My phone rang, and I saw his name on the screen. My son.
My boy.
We have a son. Those were his words.
Shaky.
Excited. Full of life. And in that moment, everything I had ever dreamed of felt like it was finally coming true. I had raised him alone after his father passed. I had worked 2 jobs to give him a future. I had stayed up late helping with homework and waking up early to pack his lunches. I had been there for every scraped knee and every broken heart. I had been his mother and his father and his biggest cheerleader. And now he was a father. I was going to be a grandmother. I cried that morning. Not sad tears. Happy ones. The kind that come from a place so deep you did not even know it existed. I imagined holding that baby. I imagined singing to him the way I used to sing to my son. I imagined rocking him to sleep and watching his tiny fingers wrap around mine. I imagined being the kind of grandmother I had always wanted to be.
Warm. Present.
Loving. I had no idea that those dreams would stay just that. Dreams. The first time I went to meet him, I brought flowers. I brought a blanket I had knitted myself. Soft blue yarn with little white stars. I had worked on it for weeks. Every stitch felt like a prayer. I walked into the hospital room with my heart pounding. I could hear the baby crying softly, and I smiled. That sound. That beautiful sound. But when I walked in, she looked up at me, and her face changed. My daughter-in-law. The woman my son had chosen. The woman I had tried so hard to welcome into our family. Her smile faded. Just a little. Just enough. She was holding the baby, and my son was sitting beside her looking tired but happy. I walked over slowly. I did not want to intrude. I did not want to overstep. Can I hold him? I asked it gently. Asked it with all the hope in my heart. She hesitated. Actually, I think he needs to rest right now. He just fell asleep. But his eyes were open. I could see them. Dark and curious. Looking around at this brand new world. I nodded. I smiled. I did not push. Of course. I understand. I sat down in the chair across from them, and I stayed for 20 minutes. I watched. I asked questions. I admired him from a distance. And then I left. I told myself it was just the first day. She was tired. She had just given birth. She needed space. But the space never closed. The next time I visited, she said, he was sleeping. The time after that, she said he was fussy, and only she could calm him. The time after that, she said the doctor recommended limiting visitors because of germs. There was always a reason. Always an excuse. And I watched as other people held him. Her mother. Her sister. Her friends. They came over and they laughed and they passed him around like he was the most precious thing in the world. And he was. But I was not allowed to hold him. I stood in the corner of the living room during those visits. I smiled. I nodded. I brought gifts. I asked polite questions. And inside I was breaking. No one seemed to notice. Or maybe they did, and they just did not care. My son would glance at me sometimes. I could see something in his eyes. Guilt maybe. Or confusion. But he never said anything. He never stood up for me. He never asked why his mother was being treated like a stranger. I started coming less often. Not because I wanted to, but because every visit felt like a wound. Every time I walked into that house and saw my grandson in someone else's arms, I felt a little piece of myself disappear. I would go home and sit in the quiet of my living room, and I would cry. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent tears that fell while I stared at the blanket I had made. The one that was still folded neatly in my closet. The one he had never used. I started to wonder if I had done something wrong. Had I said something? Had I overstepped early on and not realized it? Had I been too involved or not involved enough? I replayed every conversation. Every text message, every moment, and I could not find the answer. So I tried harder. I sent gifts. I texted her to ask how she was doing. I offered to help with anything she needed. I told her I was there. I told her I understood how hard new motherhood was. I thought if I was kind enough, patient enough, quiet enough. She would let me in, but she did not. One afternoon, I showed up with groceries. I had texted ahead. I had asked if I could bring anything. She had said yes. So I brought fresh vegetables and some meals I had prepared. Easy things she could heat up. Things to make her life a little easier. When I arrived, she opened the door and thanked me. But she did not invite me in. I stood on the porch holding the bags, and I could hear the baby cooing inside. Can I just see him for a minute? I hated how small my voice sounded, how desperate. She looked uncomfortable. He is actually about to go down for a nap. Maybe next time? Next time. There was always a next time. And next time never came. I handed her the bags. I smiled. I told her to call if she needed anything. And then I walked back to my car, and I sat there for a long time before I could drive. I felt invisible. Like I did not matter. Like my love did not matter. I had spent my whole life being a mother. It was the thing I was most proud of. The thing that defined me. And now I was being shut out of the most important role I had ever wanted. Being a grandmother. I started to avoid family gatherings. Not completely. But I would make excuses. I would say I was tired or busy or not feeling well. Because I could not stand it anymore. I could not stand watching everyone else live the life I had dreamed of while I sat on the outside looking in. My sister called me one night. She had noticed I was pulling away. What is going on? She asked it gently. But I could hear the concern. I tried to explain. I tried to put into words what it felt like to be kept at a distance from your own grandchild. To be treated like you were dangerous or unwanted or too much. But it sounded ridiculous when I said it out loud. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe this was just how things were now, and I needed to accept it. But my sister did not think so. That is not right. You deserve to be part of his life. Her words were kind, but they did not change anything, because it did not matter what I deserved. It mattered what she allowed, and she had made it very clear. I was not welcome. Months passed. My grandson grew. I saw pictures on social media. I saw him smiling, rolling over, sitting up. I watched him grow up through a screen.
And it killed me.
I tried talking to my son. I asked him gently if I had done something wrong, if there was something I could do differently. He looked uncomfortable. He said everything was fine. He said she was just protective. He said it was not personal. But it felt personal. It felt like rejection. And the worst part was I could not even be angry. Because I loved them. I loved my son. And I wanted to love her. But how do you love someone who keeps you at arm's length? How do you build a relationship with someone who does not want you close? I did not have the answers. So I did what I had always done. I stayed quiet. I stayed patient. I stayed kind. And I hoped that one day things would change. That one day she would see me not as a threat, but as someone who just wanted to love her child. That one day I would finally get to hold my grandson. But hope is a fragile thing. And mine was starting to break. There were moments that still haunt me. Like the time I showed up for his first birthday party. I had been invited. Barely. A text message 2 days before. We are having a little party for him, if you want to come. If I wanted to come. As if it was optional. As if I might not care. But I went. Of course I went. I brought a gift. A wooden toy I had found at a small shop. Something thoughtful. Something I hoped he would love. When I arrived, the house was full of people. Her family. Her friends. People I did not know. And me. I stood near the edge of the room holding my gift and watching as everyone gathered around him. He was sitting in a high chair wearing a little party hat. His face was covered in frosting and he was laughing. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I wanted to go to him. I wanted to wipe his face and kiss his forehead and tell him how much I loved him. But I stayed where I was. Because I knew better. Her mother was standing right next to him, taking pictures, making him laugh, playing with him. And I was across the room, watching. At one point my son came over. Thanks for coming, Mom. He said it like I was a guest, not family. I nodded. I smiled. I would not miss it. He looked like he wanted to say something else. But he did not. He just patted my shoulder and walked away. I stayed for an hour. I sang happy birthday with everyone else. I watched him smash his cake. I clapped when he opened presents. And then I left. I cried the whole drive home, because that was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. And instead it felt like I did not belong. I started to wonder if I ever would. If this was just how it was going to be. Forever. Me on the outside. Watching. Waiting.
Hoping.
While everyone else got to be close. I thought about all the things I had imagined. Reading him bedtime stories. Teaching him to bake cookies. Taking him to the park. Holding his hand while he learned to walk. None of it was happening. And I did not know how to fix it. I did not know how to make her see that I was not trying to take anything from her. I just wanted to love him. That was all. But love was not enough. Not when someone else held all the power. And so I stayed in the shadows. Quiet. Patient. Heartbroken. Wondering if my grandson would ever even know who I was. Wondering if he would grow up thinking I did not care. When the truth was I cared more than anything. I cared so much it hurt. And that hurt lived in me every single day. In every missed moment. Every canceled visit. Every excuse. It lived in the arms that stayed empty. And I did not know if they ever would be full. I did not always feel this invisible. There was a time when I was the center of someone's world. When my son was small, he used to follow me everywhere. If I went to the kitchen, he was right behind me. If I sat down, he climbed into my lap. If I left the room even for a moment, he would call out for me.
Mama.
That word used to fill every corner of our home. He was my shadow. My little companion. My whole heart. After his father died, I did not know how I was going to survive. The grief was so heavy I could barely breathe. But then I would look at him. This tiny person who needed me.
Who depended on me.
And I found the strength I did not know I had. I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I cleaned houses in the morning and waited tables at night. I came home exhausted, but I still read him bedtime stories. I still helped with homework. I still tucked him in and kissed his forehead and told him everything was going to be okay. Even when I was not sure it would be. But I wanted him to feel safe. I wanted him to know that no matter what happened, I would always be there. And I was. I was there for every school play and every soccer game. I was there when he got his first bike and when he learned to ride it. I was there when he scraped his knee and when he cried because a friend hurt his feelings. I was there. Always. I raised him to be kind, to be thoughtful, to treat people with respect. I taught him to say please and thank you, to hold the door for others, to stand up for what was right even when it was hard. I taught him that family was everything, that the people you love are the people you protect. And he listened. He grew up to be exactly the kind of man I had hoped he would be. Gentle, hardworking, loyal. When he brought her home for the first time, I was so happy. He was in love. I could see it in his eyes. The way he looked at her. The way he smiled when she talked. I welcomed her with open arms. I invited her to family dinners. I asked her about her life. I tried to get to know her. I wanted her to feel like she belonged. Because she was going to be part of our family. And family mattered. I thought we were building something. I thought we were becoming close. But looking back, I wonder if I missed the signs. There were small moments. Little things that did not seem important at the time. Like the way she would tense up when I hugged my son. Or the way she would change the subject when I talked about memories from his childhood. Or the way she looked at me sometimes. Not with warmth, but with something else. Something I could not quite name. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being paranoid. But maybe I was not. Maybe she saw me as competition from the very beginning. When they got engaged, I cried happy tears. I hugged them both. I told them how proud I was. I helped plan the wedding. I did whatever they needed. I stayed in the background because I did not want to be one of those overbearing mothers. I wanted to give them space to build their life together. But I never imagined that space would turn into a wall. I used to dream about being a grandmother. I used to imagine what it would be like. Holding a baby again. Smelling that sweet baby smell. Feeling those tiny fingers wrap around mine. I imagine my son bringing his children to visit. I imagine Sunday dinners and holidays and lazy afternoons in the backyard. I imagine being needed again. Because when your child grows up, there is this shift. They do not need you the same way anymore. They build their own life. They make their own decisions. And that is how it should be. But I thought maybe when he had children I would have a place again. A role. A purpose. I thought I would get to be the grandmother I had always wanted to be. Warm.
Present. Involved.
I thought I would get to pass down the things my own mother passed down to me. Recipes. Stories. Traditions. I thought I would get to be part of something bigger than myself. But that is not what happened. Instead, I became a stranger. I think about my own mother sometimes. She passed away before my son was born. But I remember how she was with me. How patient. How loving. She used to say that being a mother was the hardest job in the world, but also the most important. She used to say that children do not remember the big things. They remember the small things. The everyday moments. The way you made them feel. And I try to do that with my son. I tried to make him feel loved every single day. Even when money was tight. Even when I was exhausted. Even when I did not know how I was going to make it through another day. I showed up. And I thought that mattered. I thought that when he became a parent he would understand. He would see everything I had done. Everything I had sacrificed. He would want me to be part of his child's life the way I had been part of his. But he did not fight for me. And that hurt more than anything. I do not blame him. Not really. He is caught in the middle. I understand that. But there is a part of me that wishes he would speak up. That wishes he would say something. That wishes he would tell her that I matter. That I deserve to be part of this. But he stays silent. And silence feels like agreement. I raised him to be kind. But maybe I also raised him to avoid conflict. Maybe I protected him too much. Maybe I should have taught him how to stand up for the people he loves even when it is uncomfortable. But I did the best I could. And I have to believe that counts for something. I have to believe that all those years of love and sacrifice were not for nothing. Even if right now it feels like they were. I remember the day he graduated from college. I sat in the audience and watched him walk across that stage, and I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I was so proud. We had made it. All those years of struggle. All those long nights. All those moments when I did not think we would survive. We had made it. And he was going to have a good life. A better life than I had. That was all I ever wanted. I did not need credit. I did not need recognition. I just needed to know that he was happy. And he is happy. I can see that. He loves his wife. He loves his son. He has a good job and a nice home. He has everything I ever wanted for him. So, why does it hurt so much? Why does it feel like I lost him? I know that is dramatic. I know he is still here. I can still call him. I can still see him. But it is not the same. There is a distance now that was not there before. And I do not know how to cross it. I do not know how to get back to the way things were. When he used to call me just to talk. When he used to ask for my advice. When he used to show up at my door with takeout and we would sit and eat and laugh. Those days feel like a lifetime ago. Now our conversations are surface level. Polite. Brief. How are you doing, Mom? Fine.
How are you?
Good.
Busy.
That is how it goes. And then we hang up, and I sit in the silence, and I wonder when we became strangers. I miss him. I miss the boy who used to tell me everything. Who used to come to me when he was scared or confused or hurt. I miss being the person he turned to. Now, he turns to her. And I understand that. I do. A man should prioritize his wife. That is what a good husband does. But does that mean his mother has to disappear? Does that mean I have to be pushed aside? I do not think it has to be one or the other. I think there is room for both. But she does not see it that way. And so here I am. On the outside. Looking in. Watching the life I dreamed of happen without me. I try not to be bitter. I try to be grateful for what I do have. I have my health. I have a roof over my head. I have friends who care about me. I have a son who is alive and well. That is more than some people have. But gratitude does not erase the pain. And the pain is there. Every single day. It is there when I wake up and realize I have not heard from him in a week. It is there when I see pictures of my grandson and realize how much he has grown since I last saw him. It is there when I pass by the baby section in a store and remember all the things I wanted to buy for him, but never got the chance to give. It is there in the quiet moments when I am alone and I let myself feel everything I have been holding in. And it is heavy. So heavy. But I carry it. Because what else can I do? I cannot force my way into their lives. I cannot make her let me in. All I can do is wait. And hope. And love from a distance. I think about the kind of grandmother I wanted to be. I wanted to be the one he ran to when he was scared. The one who made him cookies and let him stay up past his bedtime. The one who told him stories and taught him how to ride a bike and took him on adventures. I wanted to be his safe place. The way my mother was mine.
But I am not getting that chance.
And it breaks my heart because I have so much love to give. So much. And no one to give it to. I see other grandmothers at the park with their grandchildren. I see them laughing and playing and holding little hands. And I feel this ache in my chest that I cannot describe. That should be me. I should be the one pushing a swing. I should be the one wiping tears and tying shoes and giving hugs. But I am not. I am home. Alone. Wondering if I will ever get the chance. Wondering if he will even remember me when he is older. Or if I will just be the grandmother he barely knew. The one who sent gifts but was never really there. Not because I did not want to be, but because I was not allowed. And that is the part that hurts the most. Knowing that I tried. Knowing that I showed up. Knowing that I loved him with everything I had. And it still was not enough. The word boundaries started showing up a lot. At first I thought it was reasonable. New parents need boundaries. They need to figure out their rhythm, their routine, their way of doing things. I respected that. I did not want to overstep. I did not want to be the kind of mother-in-law people complain about. The kind who shows up unannounced or criticizes or tries to take over. So I gave them space. I waited to be invited. I asked before I visited. I kept my opinions to myself even when I disagreed. I thought I was doing the right thing. But the boundaries kept growing. And they only seemed to apply to me. Her mother could come over whenever she wanted. She had a key to the house. She was there all the time, helping, holding the baby, being part of every moment. Her sister came by multiple times a week. She posted pictures with my grandson constantly. She called him her little buddy. She was Auntie, and I was nothing. I was the one who had to ask permission. The one who had to schedule visits days in advance. The one who was given 30-minute windows and told not to stay too long because the baby had a routine. But no one else had those rules. No one else had to follow the boundaries. Just me. At first I tried to tell myself it was not intentional. Maybe her family just lived closer. Maybe they had more free time. Maybe it was easier. But deep down I knew that was not true. Because when I did visit, I could feel it. The tension. The coldness. The way she watched me like I was doing something wrong even when I was just sitting quietly. The way she would swoop in and take the baby from me after only a few minutes.
He needs to eat. He needs a diaper change.
He is getting fussy. There was always a reason. And I would hand him over. Smile.
Nod.
Even though my arms felt empty. Even though my heart was breaking. I started to notice the little things. The way she would talk to her mother right in front of me. Laughing. Relaxed. Open. But when I tried to join the conversation, she would give short answers. Polite but distant. The way she would let her sister hold the baby for hours. But when I asked, she would say he was tired. The way she would post pictures of everyone else with him. But never me. It was like I did not exist. Or worse. Like she wished I did not.
I tried talking to my son about it.
I chose my words carefully. I did not want to sound accusatory. I did not want to cause problems. I just feel like I do not get to see him very much. I said it gently. Calmly.
He sighed.
Mom, you know she is just protective. It is not about you.
But it felt like it was about me.
It felt personal. Why does her family get to be there all the time, and I do not? I asked it as softly as I could. But I needed to understand. He looked uncomfortable. They just help out more. They are around more. I could help. I have offered to help. I know. And we appreciate it. But right now we have it under control. Under control. As if I was a problem to be managed. As if my presence was something they had to limit. I stopped pushing after that. Because I could see it was not going to change. And I did not want to make things worse. But the hurt stayed with me. It sat heavy in my chest. It kept me up at night. It made me cry when I was alone. I felt rejected. Not just by her, but by him. Because he was letting it happen. He was choosing her comfort over my pain. And I understood why. I did. She was his wife. She was the mother of his child. He had to support her. But did that mean he had to abandon me? I started to dread family gatherings. Because they were a reminder of everything I did not have. I would show up and watch her mother hold my grandson for hours. I would watch her laugh with him, sing to him, feed him. I would watch her sister play with him, make him giggle, take a million pictures. And I would sit on the couch, quiet,
Smiling.
pretending I was fine. But I was not fine. I was dying inside. One day her mother made a comment. She said it casually, like it was nothing. He is such a mama's boy already. He only wants me and his mommy. She said it while holding him, while he reached for her and smiled. And everyone laughed. But I did not. Because that comment was not innocent. It was a message. You do not matter. You are not needed. This is our family, and you are not part of it. I felt my throat tighten. I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I stood there looking at myself in the mirror. I looked tired,
Sad.
older than I felt. I did not recognize myself anymore. I used to be strong, confident, sure of my place in the world. But now I felt small, like I was shrinking, disappearing, and no one even noticed. When I came back out, I stayed for another hour. I played my part. I smiled and nodded and acted like everything was okay. And then I left. I sat in my car for a long time before I started driving. I did not know how much more of this I could take. The rejection, the exclusion, the constant feeling of being unwanted. I was trying so hard to be patient, to be understanding, to respect their boundaries. But it felt like I was the only one making sacrifices. Everyone else got what they wanted, except me. I started pulling back, not because I wanted to, but because it hurt too much to keep trying. I stopped offering to help. I stopped asking to visit. I stopped texting as much. I told myself if they wanted me, they would reach out. But they did not. Weeks would go by, and I would not hear from them. And when I finally did, it was always brief. Surface level. Just checking in. Hope you are doing well. As if I was an acquaintance. Not his mother. I wondered if they even noticed my absence. Or if they were relieved. One afternoon, I ran into an old friend at the grocery store. She asked about my grandson. She asked if I was enjoying being a grandmother. And I lied. I told her it was wonderful. That he was perfect. That I loved every minute of it. Because I could not say the truth. I could not say that I barely knew him. That I was being kept at a distance. That I felt like I did not matter. Because if I said that out loud, it would make it real. And I was not ready to face that. So I smiled. I lied. I pretended. And then I went home and cried. I started seeing a pattern. Every time I got close, something would happen. I would have a nice visit, and then I would not hear from them for weeks. I would send a gift and get a short thank you text. I would ask to come over and be told it was not a good time. It was like she was controlling the access, deciding when I was allowed in and when I was not. And I had no power, no say, no voice. I was completely at her mercy. And she was not merciful. I started to feel angry, not just sad, but angry, because this was not fair. I had done nothing wrong. I had been kind. I had been respectful. I had stayed in my lane. And still I was being punished. For what? For loving my son? For wanting to know my grandson?
For existing?
I did not understand it. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. But I did not know what to do with that anger. I could not yell. I could not confront her. I could not demand anything. Because that would make me the villain. That would give her a reason to push me out even further. So I swallowed it. I pushed it down deep, and I kept smiling.
Kept pretending.
Kept suffering in silence. Because that was the only option I had. But the anger did not go away. It just mixed with the sadness and the hurt and the rejection. And it all became this heavy weight I carried everywhere. I stopped sleeping well. I would lie in bed at night replaying every interaction, every conversation, every moment, wondering what I could have done differently, wondering why I was not enough, wondering if things would ever change. I felt like I was grieving the relationship I thought I would have with my grandson, grieving the closeness I thought I would have with my son, grieving the future I had imagined, because none of it was happening, and I did not know if it ever would. There were moments when I thought about giving up, just stepping back completely, stopping the visits, stopping the texts, stopping the effort. If they did not want me in their lives, maybe it was easier to just let go. But every time I thought about it, I could not do it, because he was my grandson, and I loved him, even though I barely knew him, even though he did not know me. I loved him, and I could not walk away from that. So I stayed, in the shadows, in the background, in the margins, loving him from a distance, hoping that one day it would be enough, hoping that one day she would see that I was not the enemy, that I just wanted to be part of his life. That was all I ever wanted. But wanting something does not make it happen, and hoping does not change reality. The reality was I was being kept out, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I learned to live with it. I learned to smile through the pain. I learned to celebrate the small moments. A picture, a short visit, a quick hello. I took whatever I could get, because it was better than nothing, even if it was not nearly enough. I made a decision. It was not easy. It was not what I wanted, but it was the only thing I could do. I was going to stop fighting, not because I did not care, but because fighting was making things worse. Every time I pushed, every time I asked, every time I tried to be more involved, she pushed back harder, and the distance between us grew. So I decided to step back. Not completely, but enough. Enough to stop feeling like I was begging for scraps. Enough to protect my own heart. I would love my grandson from a distance. I would be there if they needed me. But I would not force my way in. I would send gifts. I would text to check in. I would show up when invited. But I would not ask for more than they were willing to give. It was the hardest decision I have ever made. Because every part of me wanted to fight, wanted to demand, wanted to say this is not fair and I deserve better. But life is not about what we deserve. It is about what we can control. And the only thing I could control was how I responded. So I chose grace. Even when it hurt. Even when it felt impossible. I chose to love him quietly, patiently, without expectations. I started sending small gifts every few weeks. Nothing big. Nothing that would feel intrusive.
A book. A toy.
A little outfit. I would leave them on the porch with a note. Thinking of you. Love, Grandma. I did not know if he would ever play with the toys, or if she would even give them to him. But I sent them anyway, because I needed him to know I was thinking of him, even if he did not understand it yet. I started writing letters. Not to send.
Just to write.
I would sit at my kitchen table, and I would write to him. About my day. About memories of his father. About the things I wished I could tell him in person. I wrote about how much I loved him. How proud I was to be his grandmother. How I hoped one day we would be close. I kept the letters in a box in my closet. Maybe one day I would give them to him. Maybe one day he would read them and understand. Or maybe I would keep them forever. Either way, it helped me. It gave me a place to put all the love I had no one to give to. I prayed a lot during this time. I had always believed in something bigger than myself, but I had not prayed much in recent years. Now I prayed every day. I prayed for patience,
For peace.
for understanding. I prayed that she would soften, that she would see me as an ally instead of a threat. I prayed that my son would find his voice, that he would stand up for me. I prayed that my grandson would grow up knowing he was loved, even if I could not always show it the way I wanted to. Prayer did not change the situation.
But it changed me.
It gave me strength when I felt weak. It gave me hope when I felt hopeless. It reminded me that I was not alone, even when it felt like I was. I stopped going to every family gathering, not because I was being petty, but because I needed to protect myself. Some days I just could not do it. I could not sit there and watch everyone else live the life I wanted. I could not pretend to be okay when I was breaking inside. So I started saying no. I am not feeling well. I have other plans. I need to rest. Small lies, but necessary ones. And surprisingly, no one pushed. No one asked if I was really okay. No one noticed that I was pulling away. Or maybe they did, and they just did not care. Either way, I gave myself permission to step back.
To take care of myself.
Because no one else was going to do it for me. I started filling my time with other things. I joined a book club. I started volunteering at a local community center. I reconnected with old friends. I tried to build a life that did not revolve around waiting. Waiting for a text. Waiting for an invitation. Waiting for a chance to see him. I needed more than that. I needed to remember who I was outside of being a mother. Outside of being a grandmother. I needed to find joy again. And slowly I did. Not the same joy.
Not the kind I had imagined.
But a quieter kind. A steadier kind. The kind that came from accepting what I could not change. And finding peace in it. I still thought about him. Every day. I still looked at pictures. I still wondered what he was doing. I still wished I could be there. But the longing was not as sharp. The pain was not as overwhelming. I was learning to live with it. There were still hard moments. Like when I saw a grandmother and grandson at the park. Or when someone asked me about him, and I had to admit I had not seen him in weeks. Or when I walked past the room I had imagined setting up for him. The one that stayed empty. Those moments still hurt. But they did not break me anymore. I had learned to carry the grief without letting it consume me. I had learned that you can love someone deeply and still let go of how you thought it would be. I had learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is give space, even when it is the last thing you want. One day I got a text from my son. Can you come over tomorrow? No explanation. No details. Just an invitation. I almost said no, because I was tired of getting my hopes up. Tired of walking into that house and feeling like I did not belong. But I said yes, because I always did. When I arrived, she answered the door. She looked tired.
Stressed.
Her mother was out of town.
Her sister was busy.
They needed someone to watch the baby for a few hours. And I was the backup plan. It stung, knowing I was not the first choice. Knowing I was only needed because no one else was available. But I did not say that. I just smiled and said of course. They left quickly. Barely any instructions. Just a bottle in the fridge and a diaper bag by the door. And then it was just me and him. I stood there looking at him. He was sitting in his playpen, staring up at me with those big, curious eyes. He did not cry. He did not reach for me. He just looked, like he was trying to figure out who I was. I sat down on the floor next to him. Hi, sweetheart.
It is Grandma.
My voice was soft, tentative. He tilted his head, still watching. I picked up a toy and held it out to him. He took it, his little fingers wrapping around it. And for the first time in months, I got to just be with him. No one watching. No one judging. No one taking him away after 5 minutes. Just us. I played with him. I talked to him. I sang to him. And he smiled. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. That smile. It felt like a gift. We spent 2 hours together. I changed his diaper. I gave him a bottle. I rocked him when he got fussy. And when he finally fell asleep in my arms, I cried. Not sad tears. Happy ones. Because in that moment I got to be what I had always wanted to be. his grandmother. When they came home, I was sitting on the couch with him, still asleep in my arms. She looked surprised. He never falls asleep for anyone but me. I just smiled. I did not say anything. I did not need to, because that moment was mine, and no one could take it from me. I handed him to her carefully, quietly. Thank you for letting me watch him. She nodded. Thanks for coming. It was not warm, but it was not cold either. It was something, and I would take it. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in months, because I had finally gotten what I had been waiting for. Time with him. Real time. And it reminded me why I was still trying. Why I had not given up. Because moments like that made it all worth it. Even if they were rare. Even if they were not enough. They were something. And something was better than nothing. I realized that day that I did not need to be the main character in his life. I did not need to be the favorite. I did not need to be the one he ran to first. I just needed to be present. In whatever way I was allowed. And maybe that was enough. Maybe love did not always look the way you thought it would. Maybe it was quieter than that.
Softer.
Maybe it was showing up even when it was hard. Loving even when it was not returned the way you hoped. Giving without keeping score. I did not know if things would ever change. If she would ever let me in fully. If my grandson would ever really know me. But I knew I would keep trying.
Not loudly.
Not desperately. But steadily. Quietly. From a distance. With a love that did not need permission. A love that did not need anything in return. Just a love that existed. Because he existed. And that was enough. Something shifted. I did not notice it at first. It was subtle.
Small.
But it was there. My grandson started to recognize me. Not just in the way babies recognize faces. But in a deeper way. A way that felt like connection. It started the day I watched him. After that, she called me a few more times. Always last minute. Always because no one else was available. But I did not care. I said yes every time. And every time I got to spend a few hours with him. At first he was cautious. He would watch me, study me, but slowly he started to warm up. He would smile when I walked in. He would reach for the toys I brought. He would let me hold him without fussing. And then one day something happened. We were at a family gathering. Her whole family was there. My son, her mother, her sister, cousins,
Friends.
The house was loud,
Chaotic.
full of people, and he was being passed around, from her mother to her sister to a cousin. Everyone wanted to hold him. Everyone wanted his attention. But he was getting fussy. He started to cry. That tired, overwhelmed cry that babies get when there is too much going on. Her mother tried to soothe him, bouncing him, shushing him, but he kept crying. Her sister tried. Same thing. My daughter-in-law took him. She rocked him,
Sang to him.
and he calmed down a little. But he was still whimpering, still uncomfortable. I was standing near the back of the room, watching, staying out of the way, and then he turned his head and looked right at me. His little arms reached out toward me. I froze. Everyone froze. Her mother looked confused. Her sister looked surprised. My daughter-in-law looked stunned. She glanced at me and then back at him. You want grandma? She said it like she could not believe it. He kept reaching. I walked over slowly, my heart pounding.
Can I?
She hesitated, but she could not say no. Not with everyone watching. She handed him to me. And the moment I took him, he stopped crying. He laid his head on my shoulder. His little body relaxed. He let out a deep breath. And he was calm. Completely calm. The room went quiet. I could feel everyone staring. But I did not care. Because in that moment, I was the one he wanted. Not her mother. Not her sister. Not even his own mother.
Me.
I held him close. I rubbed his back. I whispered softly. It is okay. You are okay. And he stayed there. Content.
Peaceful.
I looked up and saw my daughter-in-law watching. Her face was unreadable, but I could see something in her eyes.
Surprise.
Maybe confusion. And something else. Something I had not seen before. Respect. Or maybe just the realization that she could not control this. She could not control who he felt safe with. That was his choice. And he had chosen me. I did not stay long after that. I did not want to push it. I handed him back when he started to get sleepy. I said my goodbyes. I left. But something had changed. I could feel it. After that day, things were different. Not drastically, but noticeably. She started inviting me over more. Not all the time, but more than before. She started texting me pictures. Little updates. He took his first steps today. He said a new word. Look at this funny face he made. Small things. But they mattered. Because it meant she was including me. And I think part of it was because she realized something. He liked me. He responded to me. And she could not change that. No matter how many boundaries she put up. No matter how much she tried to control the access. He had his own feelings. His own preferences.
And he was comfortable with me.
I did not gloat. I did not rub it in. I just quietly appreciated it. Because it was not about winning. It was about connection. The next time I visited, he ran to me. Well, not ran.
He was still toddling.
But he came to me as fast as his little legs could carry him. He wrapped his arms around my legs and looked up at me with the biggest smile.
Gamma.
That was what he called me. Not grandma.
Gamma.
And it was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. I picked him up and he hugged me. A real hug. The kind that makes your heart feel full. I looked over at my daughter-in-law. She was watching. But she was not tense. She looked almost relieved. Like maybe she was starting to understand that letting me in did not mean losing him. It just meant he had more people to love. And that was a good thing. We spent the afternoon together. All of us. She made lunch. I helped. We talked. Not about anything deep. Just normal things. The weather. A show she was watching. A recipe she wanted to try. But it felt easy. It felt normal. And I realized this was what I had been hoping for all along. Not some big, dramatic moment. Just this. Being included. Being treated like family. Being allowed to love my grandson without feeling like I was intruding. He played with me the whole time. He brought me toys. He climbed into my lap. He babbled and pointed at things. And I soaked it all in. Every second. Because I did not know how long it would last. But I was not going to waste it worrying. I was just going to be present. There was one moment that stood out. He had been running around. Playing. Laughing. And then he tripped. He fell hard. Hit his knee. And he started crying. His mother was in the kitchen. She started to come over. But he did not run to her. He ran to me. He climbed into my lap. Buried his face in my chest. And I held him. I rocked him gently. I kissed his head. I told him he was okay. And he calmed down. When I looked up, she was standing in the doorway. Watching. And for the first time, I did not see resentment in her eyes. I saw acceptance. Maybe even gratitude. Because in that moment she realized something important. She could not be everything to him. No one could. He needed more than just her. He needed a village. And I was part of that village. I was not trying to replace her. I never was. I just wanted to be there. And now I finally could be. The weeks that followed were the best I had experienced since he was born. She called me more. Invited me over more. I got to babysit a few times. Not just as a last resort, but because she trusted me. I got to take him to the park. Just the two of us. I pushed him on the swings. I helped him down the slide. I wiped his tears when he got scared. And it felt like everything I had dreamed of. I got to read him bedtime stories when I stayed for dinner. I got to give him baths and sing silly songs. I got to be Gamma. Not just a name, but in presence. And he loved me. I could see it in his eyes. In the way he smiled when he saw me. In the way he reached for me. He loved me. And that was all I had ever wanted. I was careful not to overstep. I did not try to take over. I did not undermine her. I respected her rules. But I also did not disappear. I showed up. I stayed present. I loved him openly. And she let me. One evening she said something that surprised me. We were sitting on the couch. He had fallen asleep between us. She looked over at me.
Thank you.
I glanced at her. For what? For being patient. For not giving up. For loving him even when I made it hard. I did not know what to say. I could feel my throat tighten. He is my grandson. I will always love him. She nodded. I know. I see that now. We sat in silence for a moment. And I realized this was her apology. It was not perfect. It was not everything I might have wanted to hear. But it was real.
And it was enough.
I am sorry too. I said it softly. She looked at me. For what? For anything I did that made you feel uncomfortable. I never wanted to overstep. I just wanted to be part of his life. She nodded again. I know. I think I was just scared. Scared of what? Of not being enough. Of him loving you more than me. Of losing control. I reached over and squeezed her hand. You are his mother. No one will ever take that from you. I do not want to. I just want to be his grandmother. That is all. She smiled. A real smile. And I think in that moment we both let go of something. She let go of the fear. And I let go of the resentment. And we started fresh. It was not perfect after that. There were still moments of tension. Still boundaries that felt unfair. But it was better. So much better. And my grandson was at the center of it all. He had no idea the role he played. He did not know that his love had softened hearts. That his choice had opened doors. That his presence had healed wounds. He was just a little boy. Living his life. Playing. Learning.
Growing.
But he had changed everything. Because children have that power. The power to bring people together. To remind us what really matters. To show us that love does not have to be complicated. It can be simple. It can be a hug, a smile, a choice. And sometimes that is all it takes. It happened on a Sunday. We were all gathered at their house for a family dinner.
Her side.
My side. Everyone together. It was the first time in a long time that it felt like a true family gathering. Not tense. Not awkward. Just normal. I had been invited. Not as an afterthought. But genuinely. She had texted me earlier in the week. We are doing a big family dinner Sunday. I would love for you to come. I said yes immediately. When I arrived, the house was already full. Kids running around. Adults talking. Food on every surface. It smelled like home. I walked in with a dish I had made. A recipe I had been making for years.
She smiled when she saw me.
You did not have to bring anything. I wanted to. She took the dish and set it on the counter. And then my grandson came running over. Gamma. He crashed into my legs, and I laughed. I picked him up and kissed his cheek. Hi, sweet boy. He wrapped his arms around my neck. And I felt it again. That fullness. That joy. The feeling of being exactly where I was supposed to be. The afternoon went smoothly. We ate. We talked. We laughed. The kids played. The adults relaxed. It felt easy. At one point her mother came over to me. She had not been warm to me in the past. She had been part of the problem. Always making comments. Always making me feel like I was intruding. But today she seemed different. He really loves you. She said it simply. No edge. No judgment. I smiled. I love him too. She nodded. I can see that. It was not an apology. But it was acknowledgement. And I would take it. Later in the evening the kids were getting tired. My grandson had been running around for hours. Playing. Laughing. Eating snacks. But now he was winding down. He started to get clingy. He went to his mother first. She picked him up. Tried to soothe him. But he was whiny. Fussy. She bounced him. Rocked him. But he kept squirming. Her mother tried next. Come here, baby.
Come to Grandma.
But he shook his head.
No.
Her sister tried. He turned away.
No.
My son tried. Buddy, do you want daddy? He just whimpered. And then he looked around the room. His eyes scanned the faces.
And they landed on me. Gamma.
He reached out his little arms.
Toward me.
Everyone stopped. Her mother. Her sister. My son. They all turned to look at me. I stood up slowly. Do you want Gamma? He nodded, tears on his cheeks.
Yeah.
I walked over, and she handed him to me. The moment I took him, he relaxed. He laid his head on my shoulder. He wrapped his arms around my neck.
And he sighed.
A deep, tired sigh. I rubbed his back. You are okay. Gamma is here. And just like that, he was calm. The room was silent. Not uncomfortable. Just surprised. Because it was undeniable. He wanted me. Not because I was closer. Not because I bribed him with toys. But because I was his comfort. His safe place. I looked over at my daughter-in-law. I expected to see frustration. Maybe jealousy. But I did not. She was smiling. A soft, genuine smile. And I realized she was not upset.
She was relieved.
Because it takes a village to raise a child. And she finally understood that I was part of that village. Not a threat. Not competition. Just another person who loved him. I held him for the rest of the evening. He fell asleep in my arms. And I sat there surrounded by family, feeling more included than I had in years. When it was time to leave, I carefully handed him back to her. She took him gently.
Thank you.
She whispered it so only I could hear. Of course. I kissed his forehead. And then I left. I drove home with tears in my eyes. But they were not sad tears. They were grateful tears. Because something had shifted tonight.
Something big.
It was not just about him choosing me. It was about everyone seeing it. Seeing that I mattered. That I had a place. That I belonged. And no one could deny it anymore. Not her mother. Not her sister. Not even her. The next day, she called me. I was surprised. She usually texted. But she called.
Hey.
Do you have a minute? Of course. There was a pause. I just wanted to say thank you for yesterday. You do not have to thank me. No, I do. You were really great with him. And I think I have been unfair to you. I did not know what to say. I was scared. I did not want to share him. I did not want anyone to take over. I understand. But I see now that you're not trying to take over. You just love him. And that is a good thing. I felt my throat tighten. I do love him. So much.
I know.
And I am sorry it took me so long to see that. It is okay. No, it is not. I kept you away. I made excuses. I was selfish. I appreciated her honesty. But I did not want to dwell on it. What matters is now. And right now things feel good. She let out a breath. Yeah, they do. We talked for a few more minutes. About normal things. About plans. About him. And when we hung up, I felt lighter than I had in years. Because this was the breakthrough I had been waiting for. Not a dramatic moment. Not a big fight. Just an honest conversation. And a willingness to change. The weeks that followed were the best. She called me often. Invited me over. Sent pictures. I got to babysit. I got to take him places. I got to be part of his daily life. And it felt natural. It felt right. One day I was at their house, and she asked me something. Do you want to stay for dinner? I would love to. And then she said something that surprised me. Actually, do you want to come over every Sunday? We could make it a tradition. Family dinners. I felt my heart swell. I would really love that. She smiled.
Good.
Me too. And just like that I had my place. Not on the outside. Not in the margins. But at the table. With my family. Where I belonged. That Sunday, we started the tradition. Every week we would gather. Sometimes just us. Sometimes with extended family. But always together. And always with love. My grandson grew more attached to me with every visit. He would run to me when I arrived. He would cry when I left. He would ask for me during the week. Where Gamma? And it filled my heart every single time. One afternoon I was playing with him in the living room. She was in the kitchen cooking. And he looked up at me with those big eyes. I love you, Gamma. It was the first time he had said it. And I felt like my heart might burst. I love you too, sweet boy. So much. He smiled and went back to playing. Like it was no big deal. But it was a big deal. To me it was everything. Because I had waited so long to hear those words. To feel that connection. to know that I mattered to him. And now I did, not because I fought for it, but because I loved him.
Consistently. Patiently.
Quietly. And love always finds a way. Later that evening, she came into the room. He said he loves you. She said it with a smile.
He did.
That is really special. It is. She sat down next to me. I am glad he has you. I looked at her. I am glad I have him. And I am glad we are finally in a good place. Me too. She reached over and squeezed my hand. And, in that moment, I forgave her. For everything. The exclusion. The boundaries. The pain. All of it. Because she was trying now. And that was all I needed. We sat there together watching him play. And it felt like peace. Like we had finally found our way. Not through force. Not through confrontation. But through love. And patience.
And time.
And a little boy who reminded us what mattered most. The conversation happened on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was at their house. It had become a regular thing now. Stopping by. Spending time. Being part of the routine. My grandson was napping. My daughter-in-law was folding laundry. I was sitting on the couch with a cup of tea. It felt comfortable. Natural. And then she said something. Can I ask you something? Of course. She sat down next to me. Did you ever resent me? I looked at her. Really looked at her. She looked nervous. Vulnerable. I thought about lying. About saying no. About protecting her feelings. But I did not.
Yes.
She nodded slowly. I figured. But not anymore. She looked up at me.
Why not?
Because I understand now. I understand that you were scared. That you were protecting yourself. That you were trying to figure out how to be a mother. I was. But I also hurt you.
You did.
She looked down at her hands. I am really sorry. I reached over and took her hand. I forgive you. She looked at me with tears in her eyes.
Why?
Because holding on to it does not help anyone. And because I love my grandson. And you are his mother. So, I choose to love you too. She let out a shaky breath. I do not deserve that. Maybe not. But that is what grace is. Giving people what they do not deserve because love is bigger than hurt. She wiped her eyes. Thank you. We sat in silence for a moment. And then I said something I had been thinking for a while. You know, I was never trying to compete with you. She looked at me. I know that now. But I thought you were. I just wanted to be part of his life. Not take him from you. Just love him.
I see that now.
I think I was just so scared that I would not be enough. That he would love everyone else more than me. That will never happen. You are his mother. That bond is unbreakable. She smiled. I am starting to believe that.
Good.
Because it is true. She leaned back against the couch. I think I was also jealous of you. Jealous of me? Yeah. You raised my husband. You did it alone. You were strong and selfless, and I felt like I could never measure up to that. I shook my head. You do not have to measure up to anything. You are his mother. You are exactly who he needs. She looked at me.
You really mean that?
I do. And I realized that was the root of it all. She had felt inadequate, insecure. And instead of leaning on me for support, she had pushed me away. Because she thought I was a threat. But I never was. I just wanted to help. I just wanted to love. And now she finally understood that. My son came home a little while later. He walked in and saw us sitting together.
Talking.
Laughing.
And he smiled.
This is nice. It is. I looked at him. Can I talk to you for a minute? He looked surprised. Sure. We went into the other room. And I said something I should have said a long time ago. I need you to speak up. He looked confused. What do you mean? I mean, I know you have been caught in the middle. But I am your mother. And I needed you to stand up for me. He looked down. I know. I am sorry. I did not say it to make you feel guilty. I said it because I do not want this to happen again. If something is wrong, you need to say something. You are right. He looked at me with regret in his eyes. I just did not want to cause problems. I understand that. But sometimes avoiding conflict causes more pain. I should have said something.
Yes.
You should have. He hugged me.
I am sorry, Mom.
I hugged him back. I forgive you. When we walked back into the living room, she was holding our grandson. He had woken up from his nap. He saw me and reached out. Gamma. I took him and kissed his cheek. Hi, sweet boy. He giggled. And I looked around the room. At my son.
At my daughter-in-law.
At my grandson. And I realized this was what I had been fighting for all along. Not control. Not recognition. Just this. Being part of a family. Feeling loved. Feeling included. Feeling like I mattered. And now I finally did. The months that followed were filled with joy. We fell into a rhythm. Weekly dinners. Playdates. Holidays together. I was not just invited. I was expected. I was not just tolerated. I was wanted. And it felt like everything I had dreamed of. My grandson and I developed our own special bond. He had his favorite games we played. His favorite songs I sang. He had things that were just ours. And I treasured every single one. One day we were at the park. Just the two of us. He was running around. Laughing.
Playing.
And I sat on the bench watching him. Feeling so much gratitude. Because there was a time I thought this would never happen. That I would never get to have moments like this. But here I was. Living the life I had hoped for. He ran over and climbed into my lap. I love you, Gamma. I love you too, baby. He hugged me tight. And I closed my eyes and soaked it in. Every second. Because I knew how precious this was. How easily it could have been lost. How close I had come to missing out on this. But I did not give up. I stayed patient. I stayed kind. I stayed present. And it had paid off. Not because I earned it, but because love won. That evening I dropped him off at home. She opened the door with a smile. Did you have fun? He nodded enthusiastically. We go park. I bet that was fun. She looked at me. Thank you for taking him.
Anytime.
She hesitated for a moment. You know, he talks about you all the time. Gamma this. Gamma that. I smiled. That makes my heart so happy. Mine too. And I could tell she meant it. There was no jealousy. No resentment. Just genuine happiness. Because she finally understood. Love does not divide. It multiplies. The more people who loved him, the better. And I was one of those people. Not competing with her. Not trying to take her place. Just loving him in my own way. And that was enough. For all of us. One Sunday, we were all sitting around the dinner table. Her family. My family. All together. And my grandson was going around the table giving everyone hugs. He hugged his mom. His dad. His aunt.
His grandpa.
And then he came to me. He climbed into my lap and wrapped his arms around my neck. I love you, Gamma. I love you too, sweet boy. And when I looked up, everyone was smiling. Not with pity. Not with discomfort. But with joy. Because this was how it was supposed to be. This was family. Messy. Imperfect. But full of love. And I finally had my place in it. Not on the outside. But right in the middle. Where I belonged. Time has a way of healing things. Of softening edges. Of bringing clarity. It has been 2 years since that first Sunday dinner. 2 years since everything shifted. And life looks so different now. My grandson is older now. He talks in full sentences. He has opinions. He has a personality. And he is the light of my life. We have our routines now. Every Wednesday I pick him up from preschool. We go to the park. We get ice cream. We talk about his day. He tells me about his friends. About what he learned. About the games he played. And I listen to every word like it is the most important thing I have ever heard. Because to me it is. Every Friday night, I come over for dinner. I help cook. We eat together. We play games. And it feels like home. Not just their home. My home too. Because I am part of it now. Not as a guest. As family. My relationship with my daughter-in-law has grown too. We are not just polite anymore. We are friends. Real friends.
She calls me when she needs advice.
She trusts me with her son. She includes me in decisions. And I do the same. I ask her opinion. I respect her boundaries. I support her. Because that is what family does. We had coffee together last week. Just the two of us. And she said something that surprised me. I do not know what I would do without you. I smiled. You would be just fine. No, I mean it. You have been such a huge help. And I am so glad he has you in his life. I am glad too. I was really stupid in the beginning. You were scared. That is different. Maybe. But I wasted so much time. We both did. But we are here now. That is what matters. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Thank you for not giving up on us. I would never. And I meant it. Because family is worth fighting for. Even when it is hard. Even when it hurts. It is worth it. My son has changed too. He is more confident now. More willing to speak up. He checks in on me more. He makes sure I feel included. He has become the man I always knew he could be. Strong. Loving. Present. And I am so proud of him. One day, he came over to my house. Just him. No wife. No kid. Just my son. We sat on the porch with coffee. And he said something I will never forget. I am sorry for how things were.
I know. No, I really am.
I should have stood up for you sooner. I should have made her see how important you are. You were in a tough spot. That is no excuse. Maybe not. But you are here now. And that is what matters. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. You are the best mom. I do not say that enough. I felt my throat tighten. You turned out pretty great. So I must have done something right. He laughed. And we sat there together in comfortable silence. The kind of silence that only comes from years of love and understanding. My grandson and I have our own special relationship now. One that no one can touch. He tells me secrets. He asks me questions. He trusts me. Last week he asked me something. Gamma, why do you always smile when you see me? I knelt down to his level. Because you make me so happy. Seeing you is the best part of my day. He thought about that for a moment. You make me happy too. And then he hugged me. And I realized this was everything I had ever wanted. Not grand gestures. Not big moments. Just this.
Simple. Pure. Love.
The kind that does not need words. The kind that just exists. I think about where we were 2 years ago. When I felt invisible. When I felt unwanted. When I thought I would never have this. And I am so grateful I did not give up. Because look at what I would have missed. I would have missed watching him grow. Missed hearing his laugh. Missed being part of his life. I would have missed this bond. This beautiful, unbreakable
bond.
People ask me sometimes how I stayed patient. How I did not get angry. How I did not walk away. And the answer is simple.
Love.
I loved him before I even met him. And that love was stronger than my hurt. Stronger than my pride. Stronger than anything. And love always wins. Maybe not quickly. Maybe not easily. But eventually, love wins. I do not know what the future holds. I do not know what challenges we will face. But I know this. I am part of his life now. And nothing will take that away. Not distance. Not time. Not conflict. Because we have built something real. Something that does not need permission. Something that just is. Last night, he stayed over at my house. His first sleepover with just me. We made cookies. We watched movies. We stayed up too late. And when it was time for bed, he climbed into the guest bed and looked at me. Will you stay with me? Of course. I lay down next to him. And he snuggled close. I love you, Gamma. I love you too, sweet boy. More than you will ever know. He yawned.
I know.
And then he fell asleep. I laid there next to him listening to his soft breathing. And I cried. Not sad tears. Happy ones. Grateful ones. Because this was everything. This was the dream I had been waiting for. And it was more beautiful than I ever imagined. I used to think being a grandmother would be about big moments. Birthdays. Holidays. Milestones. But it is not. It is about the small moments. The quiet ones. The ones where he reaches for my hand. The ones where he asks me to read one more story. The ones where he says I love you without being prompted. Those are the moments that matter. Those are the moments I will carry with me forever. I do not know how much time I have on this earth. None of us do. But I know this. I will spend every moment I have loving him, being present, being kind, being his gamma, because that is who I am, not because of a title, but because of a bond that does not need permission, a bond that does not need validation, a bond that just is, and always will be. I think about the woman I was 2 years ago, standing on the outside,
Heartbroken.
invisible, and I want to tell her something. I want to tell her to hold on, to keep loving, to keep showing up, to keep believing, because it will get better. Not overnight, not easily, but it will get better. And it will be worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of pain, it will all be worth it. Because love is worth it. Family is worth it. He is worth it. And so am I. I am worthy of love, of inclusion, of respect. And I do not have to beg for it. I just have to be myself. And the right people will see it. The right people will value it. The right people will make room for it. And they did. Not because I forced it, but because I loved without conditions. And that kind of love cannot be ignored. It cannot be controlled. It just exists. Quiet, steady, unshakable. And it changes everything. So here I am, 2 years later, living the life I dreamed of. Not perfectly, but beautifully. With my grandson by my side. With my family around me. With love in my heart. And peace in my soul. Because I finally understand. Love does not compete. It does not demand. It does not control. It just is. And that is enough. More than enough. It is everything.